Preliminary Damage Estimate. How to create and submit an initial damage assessment. Welcome to the Preliminary Damage Estimate video that shows how to create and submit an initial damage estimate to apply for emergency funding. This is the second of several videos designed to help with the first few steps in applying for emergency relief funds. Before viewing this, be sure to watch the Emergency Relief Program overview. Several terms and processes described in that video will be referred to in this one. The time immediately following a disaster is critical for getting preliminary estimates in to apply for emergency relief reimbursement funds. This video shows you how to identify the site, estimate and compile restoration costs, take the quality of photos required by FEMA, FHWA, HSEM, and MnDOT, and send your preliminary estimate in. Submitting that preliminary estimate as soon as possible is critical because the window of opportunity to apply for some emergency funds is very short. Let's get started. First, let's define what a damage site is. For emergency relief funding purposes, a site is defined as an area of damage caused by the emergency event. For FHWA-ER, areas of damage within a half mile of each other with similar damage can be combined into a larger site. Areas of damage farther away from each other than 1/2 mile or with different types of work should be treated as individual sites. A site must have at least $5,000 in damage estimates and on a major collector or above to be federally eligible for FHWA emergency relief funding. Remember, all FHWA eligible sites with estimated damage exceeding $150,000 require a site inspection by FHWA to be eligible for FHWA-ER funding. Damage eligible for FEMA or state disaster funding can be grouped together by FEMA category and county. The site minimum for these programs is displayed. The damage assessment information emergency management asks for includes type of damage, debris, buildings, right-of-way, etc. Specific location, name of facility, mile points and markers impacted, the county, federal aid route or road, for example, Trunk Highway 169, and if the road is open or closed. Cost estimate, this will be discussed later in the video. Pictures, kind and quality expectations by state and federal agencies for photos showing damage are discussed later also. The sooner emergency management gets this information, the better. They understand that right after a disaster, a lot of things are going on, but there is a time limit on when you can ask for state or federal assistance. The sooner they get this information, the sooner everyone can begin establishing the new normal. Before moving on to estimating costs, let's review the right-of-way elements that are eligible for emergency relief funding. Remember, before being considered for emergency relief funding, a county official has to declare a county emergency. To do that, they must have preliminary damage estimates for affected MnDOT and county infrastructure. For FEMA and state disaster fund damage, the site minimum for these programs is displayed. For FHWA-ER, the site minimum is $5,000. To do your part, you must know what's eligible to be repaired with emergency relief funds. These are the items you must inspect and estimate repair costs for. As a review, here they are again. According to the FHWA Emergency Relief Manual, page 3, this is what can be repaired with federal funds. All elements within the cross-section of a highway that are damaged as a direct result of disaster are eligible for repair under the ER program. This includes, but is not limited to, pavement, shoulders, slopes and embankments, guardrails, signs and traffic control devices, bridges, culverts, cribbing or other bank control features, bike and pedestrian paths, fencing, and retaining walls. The repair of a pedestrian or bicycle trail inside the right-of-way of a federal aid highway is eligible for ER funding whether or not the roadway itself is damaged. MnDOT damage not eligible for FHWA-ER is likely eligible for FEMA public assistance or state disaster funds. Debris cleanup and disposal, emergency protective measures, and uninsured damage to buildings are eligible under these programs. Examples of emergency protective measures include riprap, sandbagging, road closures, and road monitoring. Next, let's talk about how to do the preliminary estimate. A significant question that arises at this point is, how do I know how much it's going to cost to fix this? What's required immediately after discovering the damage is a very preliminary estimate. This means a best guess of the costs. These costs should include all expenses for that site to restore to its pre-disaster condition, which include engineering, emergency restoration, debris removal, permanent repair, and/or right-of-way costs. Some actual costs might already be known from past disasters and construction or maintenance projects. Pull timesheets and purchase orders or bills for material costs from earlier projects or restorations. Review detailed damage inspection reports, DDIRs, from previous disasters. Look at past costs to do whatever type of work must be done for restoration, like replacing a culvert, resurfacing a road, stabilizing a slope, etc. Everything else is an educated guess. What should this preliminary estimate look like? It can be as simple as an email with the location spelled out, the numbers clearly stated, and pictures attached. A direct quote from MnDOT Emergency Management states, "What we are looking for in the first few days after an event is a general guess, maybe based on what it cost last time the site flooded, maybe based on how much a slope failure cost last time it was a maintenance project. At the beginning, we are just trying to figure out what we qualify for. The Detailed Damage Inspection Report, or DDIR, is more detailed, and we have 12 weeks to fill it out. But first, we have to determine if we qualify for FHWA emergency relief or not. Also, the counties and HSEM are trying to determine if the county or state qualifies for state disaster or FEMA public assistance. For emergency repairs, the emergency repairs might be completed by the time the DDIR is turned in. Instructions for completing a DDIR are in the next video. Remember, this is just the first step. Actual reimbursement will be based on final actual costs. Up next, you'll learn how to take pictures that accurately show the site as a whole, as well as specifically damaged areas. Pictures are how we show the damage. For smaller sites and debris cleanup, the damage or debris will probably be repaired or gone before someone could visit. It usually takes multiple pictures to show the damage at a site. When MnDOT Emergency Management has done a damage assessment by taking pictures on a cell phone, they first take a screenshot of Google Maps showing the location before taking pictures of each site. The person taking the pictures needs a method to identify what picture goes with each site. That person also needs to label and upload the pictures to a shared network drive as soon as possible. Clear labeling is very important because the people sending in information to emergency management and SALT are probably not the same person taking the pictures. Pictures are also a requirement for the DDIR, and a different person is probably filling out the DDIR. Still, another will likely review it. Up next are examples of good photos. These come from Highway 23 damage due to June 2018's flash flooding. This is a good photo because it's from a wide angle showing all the damage to the site as a whole. This is a close-up picture of a damaged guardrail, a good picture of a specific part of the right-of-way that needs to be restored. This is a good shot of the damaged roadbed that must be fixed. This good example is a close-up showing the washout around a culvert pipe that must be repaired. This is a good photo taken at Highway 14 of damage from July 2018 heavy rains. It shows slope failure and where it is in relation to the road. Sometimes people take pictures just of the slope, and FHWA doesn't like those because they look like pictures of, quote, just the grass, end quote. Yes, take a closer picture of the damage, as long as it isn't the only one, and make sure it shows where the damage is in relation to the road. Next, you'll review a couple of poor examples and learn why they don't provide the information needed. This is a poor photo because it isn't clear what the damage is. The site is unknown. This is a poor example, first of all, because it was taken from inside a vehicle. No windshield photos, please. Get out of the vehicle to take damage photos. It's also a poor example because it isn't clear where this damage is in relation to the road. That's very important. Coming up, let's talk about where to send the preliminary damage estimates and photos. After the damage assessment costs are estimated and photos are taken, submit them along with the specific location as soon as possible. If you're with MnDOT, email everything to the email box shown. If you're with a local public agency, LPA, send estimates to your DSAE and to the County Emergency Management Office. To receive emergency relief funding, officials may need to review the site in person or meet with those familiar with the damaged site. Let's talk more about that. In the site visit, or preliminary damage assessment phase, district and LPA people are needed to attend required HSEM and FEMA meetings, and there isn't much notice for those meetings. For HSEM and FEMA preliminary damage assessments, someone familiar with the damage must attend the meetings to verify the damage. FHWA is more flexible because the people doing the site visits are local to the Twin Cities. But remember, someone who can answer the questions about the site and what the repair plan is has to go on the FHWA site visit with the FHWA representative. That's it. That's what you need to know to submit your preliminary damage assessment and get things rolling to receive emergency relief funding for the disaster. Up next is the summary. The purpose of this video was to show you how to accurately identify the site, assess and compile restoration costs, take photos that clearly show the extent of damage, submit a preliminary estimate to the appropriate parties. After this, the next step should be completing the Detailed Damage Inspection Report, or DDIR, which is the next video in the series. Thank you for watching.